Today we've got our first look at the iPhone 18's new design, along with a bunch of changes that no one saw coming. There's some upgrades you're going to love and a couple that might surprise you. So first up, before we get into the design leaks, the iPhone 18 Pro Max is getting slightly thicker and it's now going to weigh 243 grams, which is only a 3-gram increase over last year. But the extra weight is actually there for a good reason. Apple is reportedly increasing the battery capacity again. And honestly, after the poor reception of the iPhone Air, I think it's pretty clear that most people prefer better battery over a thinner phone, and larger internals also make room for upgrades in other departments. Now, something else that can upgrade your knowledge is today's video sponsor, boot.dev, a unique approach that makes learning code a lot more fun. Now, the average salary for a backend developer in the US is $115 to $160K, and it often allows for plenty of flexibility with working from home. Now, boot.dev is going to help you get there by teaching you Python through an RPG-style game, keeping you engaged and entertained while you learn to code. There you can pick your course, for instance, coding in Python or backend developer path, and you go through each mission in simple steps to earn XP and progress. It brings up problems for you to solve, and you can run the code to see if you got it right before you submit it, or of course you can get help when you need it. Now, I had fun running through some of the levels and I learned quite a lot doing so, and there's a huge selection of course content you can go through. So if you've got any interest in coding and you want to avoid the boring and dull tutorials, then go ahead and try boot.dev now by clicking the link down in the description below. Now back to the iPhone 18 Pro Max, and this time it's about the front design. We're hearing that the dynamic island is shrinking, with Apple testing a smaller punch hole layout to push the screen even closer to a full edge-to-edge display. And there were early prototypes with under-display Face ID sensors, but the latest reports say that tech just isn't ready yet, so Apple is going to be saving that for a future iPhone. Now onto the cameras, and this is where things get exciting. The iPhone 18 Pro is tipped to feature a variable aperture 48-megapixel primary camera, a 48-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 64-megapixel periscope telephoto, and that's going to offer 10 times optical zoom. But then the Pro Max might go even further, and insiders are claiming that Apple is experimenting with a stacked 200-megapixel sensor, the biggest jump in iPhone history, although it's still being tested and it's not guaranteed just yet. Now, alongside that, we're hearing about new AI-powered video tools, improved HDR performance in low light, and faster image processing thanks to the A20's upgraded neural engine. Now, speaking of performance, the entire lineup is going to be powered by the A20 and the A20 Pro. Now, the A20 Pro is built on TSMC's 2nm process. It's promising major boosts in efficiency and on-device AI performance while running cooler than the A19. Now, Apple is also said to be tightening the RAM integration, and all models are expected to come with 12GB of RAM, finally removing that gap between the base and the Pro models. And connectivity is also getting a refresh as well, with Apple's new C2 modem, Wi-Fi 7, and Bluetooth 6.1 is currently being tested, and it's expected to deliver lower latency, better reliability, and improved power efficiency if it does make the final design. Now, we've also got an interesting shift in their launch strategy. Leaks are suggesting that the iPhone 18 Pro and Pro Max are going to launch in September 2026 as usual, but then the standard iPhone 18 is actually going to arrive a little bit later, potentially a few weeks behind. So for the first time, Apple could be staggering the rollout of phones instead of dropping the entire lineup on the same day. Now onto the design, and this is where the story gets a little bit more interesting. Early leaks suggested that Apple was switching to a frosted, translucent rear panel, showing subtle hints of the internals, but the latest reports say that that's actually not happening. Now, instead, Apple is reportedly dropping the two-tone look we had on the iPhones this year, and they're switching to a more unified, single-color design, where the rear glass matches the entire frame. And that's going to be very interesting to see in person, considering one section is aluminium and the other is glass. Now, we've also got new colors in development as well, and Apple is testing a burgundy, which is sort of like product red but much deeper. We've got a brown as well as a purple option, but only one of them are going to be making the final launch. Now, the bold purple could replace this year's bold orange, but we're going to have to wait for further confirmation to find out. But let me know in the comments which one you want to see. But honestly, whichever color they choose, I just hope they also work on improving the scratch resistance at the same time. But for those of you excited, we're now going to run through the full specs, design, and the expected pricing of each model in the range to help you guys decide which one is right for you. So hit subscribe now and we'll get right into it. So first up, we've got the standard iPhone 18, which is expected to come with a 6.3-inch Super Retina XDR OLED display running at 120Hz. Of course, it's going to be protected by Ceramic Shield 3, Apple's next-gen strengthened glass. Now the resolution is going to be 2622 by 1206 pixels, giving you roughly 460 pixels per inch, but we of course get a higher peak brightness and better HDR performance than we did this year. Now the bezels are rumored to shrink slightly, making the phone feel a touch more compact than before. Then up top, we're going to see a smaller True Depth Face ID system paired with an 18-megapixel selfie camera. On the back, it's expected to keep the same dual camera setup with a 48-megapixel main camera and then a 48-megapixel ultra-wide. Both of them are going to use larger stack designs for better low-light performance though, and of course, there's no dedicated telephoto on the base model. Under the hood, it's going to be powered by the new A20 chip. It's built on a 2nm process for major efficiency gains, and you can expect 8GB of RAM and storage options from 128 up to 512GB. Now battery capacity is around 3,800 mAh with 30W wired fast charging and faster MagSafe wireless charging. Connectivity is going to include 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and of course Apple's own C2 modem. It's going to ship with iOS 27 and pricing is expected to stay close to the current levels, so that's around £799 or $799. Now next up, we've got the iPhone 18 Air, and this is the lightweight middle sibling. It's reportedly coming with a 6.5-inch Super Retina OLED at 120Hz, protected by Ceramic Shield 3. The resolution is going to be 2736 by 1260, giving us 460 pixels per inch, and we get a slightly thinner design than its predecessor. On the front, you can expect the same smaller Face ID setup and an 18-megapixel selfie camera. Then over on the rear, we get another single camera setup with a 48-megapixel primary camera. And of course, we're also going to get the better chipset, which is the A20 Pro, and that's going to be paired with 12GB of RAM and up to 1TB storage. We get small improvements to the battery capacity with a 3,200 mAh battery, and of course, we also get some improvements to fast charging as well. We get 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, and Apple's new C2 modem. It will of course ship with iOS 27, and it's going to be launching from $999 or £999. Now next up, we've got the iPhone 18 Pro, and this raises the bar with a 6.3-inch LTPO Super Retina XDR OLED display running at 1 to 120Hz. It's going to remain at 2622 by 1206 resolution, but of course we get higher peak brightness, thinner bezels, and a smaller dynamic island. We get a new 42-megapixel selfie camera on the front, and then over on the back, the Pro steps up to a triple camera system with a variable aperture, and that's a 48-megapixel main sensor, a 48-megapixel ultra-wide, and then a new 64-megapixel periscope offering 5 to 10 times optical zoom, and all three are rumored to use stacked sensors for faster readout and better color depth. It's powered by the A20 Pro chip, which is manufactured on a 2nm node, and it's coming with 12GB of RAM and up to 1TB of storage, and battery size is going to land around 4,300 mAh for the eSIM only model, with some big improvements to fast charging. Connectivity brings 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, ultra-wideband, and the new C2 modem, and it's of course going to ship with iOS 27, and pricing is expected to start from £1,099 or $1,099. Now finally, we've got the iPhone 18 Pro Max, Apple's largest flagship model, and we get a 6.9-inch LTPO Super Retina XDR OLED display with a resolution of 2868 by 1320. It's still a 120Hz display with a record-breaking peak brightness and a smaller dynamic island. For the front camera, we get the same 42-megapixel camera we have on the Pro. And then over on the rear, it's also going to mirror the Pros, so that's a 48-megapixel main, a 48-megapixel ultra-wide, and a 64-megapixel telephoto, of course with larger apertures and improved sensor readouts for even better zoom and night shots. Now it's running the same A20 Pro chip with 12GB of RAM, but this time we get up to 2TB of storage, and it also packs a much larger battery of 5,200 mAh for the eSIM only model, with improvements to wired and wireless charging. We get 5G, Wi-Fi 7, Bluetooth 6, ultra-wideband, and Apple's C2 modem, and of course it's running iOS 27, and it's expected to launch around £1,199 Well, that's going to be $1,199 in USA, and of course it's launching in September 2026. But overall, the iPhone 18 series is looking like a great release, with Apple focusing on performance, battery and cameras rather than completely redesigning the phone, and instead they're just refining an already popular device. Now, given its similarities to the predecessor, I can't imagine anyone with a 17 is going to be rushing for an upgrade, but for those with older iPhones or looking to try out their first iPhones, then it's going to be a great choice. Now, of course, launch is still quite a way away, and we're going to get more and more leaks as we approach it, and of course I'm going to be sharing those as soon as they come in, so make sure you subscribe so you don't miss a thing in the future.